Okay, so good afternoon. So I will tell you a bit about VINNOVA's approach to innovation in international ICT, a bit outside of the Horizont 2020 program that you just heard about. To start with, what do we mean by international ICT at VINNOVA? Well, the common thing really for us is that the programs and the things I will discuss later on has the basis in R&D in ICT. As you know, there are very many other programs, maybe focused on automotive or future healthcare, that have a very strong component of ICT research. But what I'll discuss in the future is where the program themselves really starts from the ICT research and up. And indeed, they have different application areas instead. Even doing this, this cutting of all the programs, we see that we have over 10 different programs at VINNOVA in the international ICT sectors, mainly belonging to the EU, but also the Eureka network and also some bilateral programs. I think it's actually 12 different programs at the time. I'm also pleased to announce a few budget increasements for these programs for starting 2014 and continuing. So when we look at the overall project budget for these programs I will discuss, we see that we plan and we hope to succeed in putting 150 million Swedish crowns per year from VINNOVA and EU together. So this will be the amount of funding that you can apply for government funding. And as you know, most, maybe even all of at least VINNOVA's funding, we basically fund 50% of the costs of the research project. So if you do the calculation, and actually I think we end up with around a mean value like 40% of the cost funding comes from VINNOVA. So you see that all in all you get the ICT R&D project portfolio of well over 300 million Swedish crowns per year. And also remember that the very last word per year, it's not one time only or one time every 5 years, but it's a continuation, which I think is very good to have. It's also quite big here at VINNOVA, so we like some 10 to 12 persons working with this. Among them are my colleagues you meet here today. Before I go into the programs, I'd like to discuss a bit about the mindset and the background that we have when we do or when we fund all these programs. As you might have got from other VINNOVA programs, like what is Sweden called utmaningsdriven innovation or innovation-driven innovation, challenge-driven innovation, sorry. We try to address some of the global challenges that we see, but we're not really trying to duck for the challenges, but rather to see them as opportunities. We have a strong tradition in Sweden for being able to make strong and complex technical systems, but also for collaboration, quite wide among areas. And we believe strongly in combining skills from many sectors to try to get good and marketable solutions to these challenges. And of course, in the international ICT arena, we also see collaborations well outside of Sweden to get a stronger push with solutions. So this is really the background to what we do. Coming to the mindset that we try, we see the main driver for at least for some of the challenges, but also for most of the solutions to the challenges, is really the digitalization, where we see ICT as a really strong enabling technology. And what we see more and more is that the solutions will most likely come well outside of the traditional ICT sectors, in many other sectors. And this is very, very interesting for us. Remember, with international ICT, we focus on programs and projects with R&D research, but the application areas can be very widely distributed. I will show you a slide, next slide actually. So the real bottom line here is that we see ICT as the steam engine of our time. And we try to support it as well as we can. Okay, so to back up this more strategic slides with some real data, this is real results from the the program that I discussed earlier, UDI, or challenge-driven innovation. Some of my colleagues have analyzed some, I think it's 36 running so-called V projects. Each of these projects has an overall budget of 20+ million Swedish crowns. As you see, in UDI there are 4 different application areas. One of them is information society. It's not included here. But what I have included here is other areas, for example, future healthcare, sustainable attractive cities, and competitive production. And what they looked for is really when we take a project in, let's say, future healthcare, what is really the content? What is the R&D content of it? And you see, but when they do this analysis, they see like 2/3 of the real work being done in projects directed to the application area, future healthcare, really comes from the ICT sector. Doing similar analysis for the other 2, you see that 50% to 2/3 of what's really done in these application areas is ICT research, which is actually stronger than we thought before we saw this data. So ICT is indeed the steam engine here. Okay, so this gives you the full picture, and it's a bit daunting. This shows you all the programs that we currently have at VINNOVA. And you see they are a bit color-coded, so you see that some of them come from the EU programs. Here, for example, my colleagues have discussed with you earlier, so I will not discuss that anymore. Some comes from Eureka, and some comes from bilateral programs where Sweden is involved with one single other country. You might ask, of course, and sometimes we do also, do we really need all these programs? There are reasons for it. For example, some of them programs here might overlap concerning the technical content, but you learned a lot about the EU programs before here, and you know, for example, you might know the previous programs, Artemis and ENIAC, concerning embedded systems and nanoelectronics. You have similar type of technical programs over here, but the content, or the mode of operation is quite different. In the EU programs, of course, you mainly work with the EU countries. For example, the Eureka programs, we see a very strong influence of other countries. Korea is coming into many of the projects, even China, Canada, Eastern Europe. So to place a project proposal, you're well advised to discuss it with us first to see how can it best be taken care of, which company is really the best for you to try to go forward with. Okay, so I will also discuss a bit more detail the Excel program, a bit about the Eurostars program, and build an overall view of the Eureka clusters. First, starting now 1st of January this year, the EU has a new joint technological initiative called Excel. The focus is on electronic components and systems, which of course you understand is a very wide scope. Actually, it contains very similar to the contents of the previous Artemis programs in embedded systems, ENIAC program in nanoelectronics, and also from the EPOS initiative, which is in smart systems. So it's very, very big in scope. There's also a new component, smart systems, that was not included before. Previously, VINNOVA and EU together funded Artemis plus ENIAC on the level of 6 million euros each year. Okay, so I put up a few dates here where the call opens and call closes, and you see that this is really taking off now. So one of the main concerns we have at VINNOVA is really how can we get good project proposals from Swedish actors. So please, if you're interested in this field or knowledge from the previous programs, don't waste your time, think it over and contact us even quite soon. There is a deadline already before summer on the project proposals. As you see, as I said earlier, we put in some like 6 million euros per year on the Artemis and ENIAC programs. You see now that there is really a good, at least tentative increase up to the 10 million euro per year level, which is well over like 2/3 extra increase, which we are quite pleased to announce. And we hope to be able to fill it with really good proposals. Okay, so more to VINNOVA contact is, of course, Andrei here, so contact him if you're interested in this. Another program, it's one of the major programs in the international ICT arena, is the Eurostars program. This is a bit special as it is actually a combined EU and Eureka program. The focus here is quite different. It's on SMEs, or high-tech SMEs, and this is not only an ICT focus, it's very wide. We have strong Swedish history in Eurostars, both from the ICT sector, but also from biotech sector and several other sectors. If you look back in history, normally ICT projects takes up maybe some 40% of the budget we have decided on so far. Again, there's more info here, but it's always open, and the first cutoff, as it's called, is on March 13, and the second one this year is September 11. We're again pleased to announce quite substantial budget increase, which is almost on the level of factor 2 here. So here, the concern is, again, we think Sweden has a good position in Eurostars, and we hope this will continue. What we've seen before is that since it's a bilateral, the projects are bilateral, there might be problems. We foresee some problems with collaborating with some countries that do not have the necessary funds for funding together with Sweden. So we again advise you to contact, in this case, my colleague Lars Gustafsson, to discuss if you have any proposals in the Eurostars program before you spend too much time on it, to see how it can be best placed. The final slide, I think, is an overview of the Eureka calls in 2014. Here we have, instead of EU going to a bigger common program like Excel, running from previous Artemis, ENIAC and EPOS, in the Eureka sector, it's still quite divided into technological areas. So, for example, you still have a focus on nanoelectronics, you still have a focus on software-intensive systems, telecom, and so on. So here, there is really a lot of activity going on. Here the situation is a bit more stable. We have similar budget as we had several years, and we have a quite well-oiled procedure to taking care of the projects. Again, please contact us before you do put down any major effort in project applications here. Okay, thank you. That was my final slide. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jonas. So, just to conclude the day, we've heard a lot of details about Horizon 2020. Now in the final part, we've also seen a little bit of the other efforts or programs that VINNOVA is working with when it comes to internationalization or international collaboration. And basically, throughout the day, we already said it several times. Basically, the message is that this is a little bit first piece of information. If you have ideas or preparing proposals, etc., do contact us and discuss in which direction you should go and further discuss what is the best. Is it the Horizon 2020 project in those calls? Is it within Excel or Eureka or Eurostars, etc.? So there are often many different opportunities that are offered to you. I think I didn't mention it in the beginning, but you see the link here, the vinnova.se/H2020ICT. That is where the film that has been broadcasted during these sessions will show up, and also the electronic versions of the handouts that you have had today. I know we're having another big event tomorrow, so I won't promise that they are there tomorrow, but probably by Friday or so, the electronic versions will be on the net, and you have all our contact details. So both me and Andre and Bogomil and Jonas are welcome that you contact us and discuss further if you have project ideas or interesting research you think would be beneficial to add into Horizon 2020 or into the other parts of the internationalization that VINNOVA is working with. With that, I just would like to conclude and thank you all for coming today, and thank you for the remote listeners that have been watching us on the internet. And we will be here a bit during the afternoon if you want to discuss it directly, but then otherwise you can contact us later on. So thank you for your participation.